The winner of the 2021 Tewaaraton will be given to one of 4 people: Chris Gray, Jared Bernhardt, Pat Kavanagh, or Michael Sowers. But here's where the fun begins. Who will actually win the award out of those 4 is a completely different question. When you break it down, each player actually has a case to win. But this is only fun if you join in, so I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. I'll be replying to comments all day. Let's start with Jared Bernhardt, who many consider to be the favorite to win. So here's his case. The man has dropped a whopping 43 goals and 19 assists in 10 games, leading the nation in points per game at 6.2. He's also on arguably the #1 team in the country, as the Terps are 10-0 and probably the favorite to get the #1 seed in the tournament, assuming they win the Big Ten championship. He's also had quite the career at Maryland, which is something that the Tewaaraton committee definitely takes into consideration. I mean, the last 10 winners have been a junior or senior, so that certainly helps. But there are a few counter arguments for why he wouldn't win the Tewaaraton, starting with the fact that he's only played Big Ten opponents for the entire season. This means he got to go against much weaker teams like Penn State, Johns Hopkins, and Michigan, while other candidates had to go against higher quality opponents. Although the Big Ten definitely has some good teams, Jared is certainly not playing in the best conference, and that's just a fact. Another argument I could see against Bernhardt is that he has an incredible supporting cast around him, including Logan Wisnauskas, who will likely break Jared's record for Maryland lacrosse points if he comes back next year. Although Jared is the best player on his team, you could argue that he doesn't have as big of an impact compared to some of the other Tewaaraton candidates. But honestly, I don't even know if that's true. Moving on to the other favorite to win it, Pat Kavanagh. I mean, without a doubt, this guy is the most improved player from 2020 to 2021, as he started as Matt Kavanagh's brother to now becoming a very legit contender as the best player in college lacrosse, with his insane eye-popping goals. Let's start with his case to win it. Sitting on 23 goals and 36 assists for 59 total points, Kavanagh is good for 4th in the nation in points per game, just sitting behind Chris Gray at 5.9 points per game. Kavanagh is undoubtedly the leader of the Notre Dame offense, as the next leading scorer for the Irish doesn't even have half of his points. Very clearly, Kavanagh is Notre Dame. If he plays well, the whole team plays well. I think it's safe to say he has the most impact out of any of the candidates that I just mentioned. And he's playing in the ACC, which is by far the best conference this year. There are a few reasons why I could see him not ending up with the trophy. First of all, he's only a sophomore and does not have the career accomplishments that the other candidates have. Like I've stated, this is a huge factor in deciding who wins the trophy. In addition, Kavanagh has had the advantage of getting the most TV time out of any other candidate, whereas a guy like Jared Bernhardt has very few games on ESPN. Since we get to see Pat on TV more, we obviously are going to think he's better than people that we don't get to see as much, even if Jared Bernhardt technically has better stats. But I don't think that's a great argument, because Chris Gray and Michael Sowers have both had only one less game on ESPN compared to Pat Kavanagh. When it comes down to it, if Jared Bernhardt leads Maryland deep into the playoffs and further than Kavanagh, I think he wins it. If Kavanagh leads Notre Dame deep, especially if he leads them to their first national championship, I think the trophy is his. But it's not just these two that deserve recognition. Gray and Sowers have a real shot too. By the way, you can always subscribe to the free Lax Weekly email newsletter packed with tips on how to become a better lacrosse player. I'll leave a link in the description where you can go subscribe now. Let's start with Chris Gray, the UNC attackman. Sitting at 42 goals and 35 assists in 13 games, Gray sits right above Kavanagh at 3rd in the nation in points per game. Ever since he transferred from Boston, he's been a certified baller for the Tar Heels. He also has the least amount of turnovers per game of any of these candidates. And when you watch him play, it's clear that he's probably the biggest star in lacrosse that doesn't force anything. I think he might be the best decision maker out of all of these candidates. If Gray and the Tar Heels make a deep run and potentially win this whole thing, and he continues producing against the best in the country, I could see him winning the trophy if Maryland and Notre Dame fall out early. I really don't think he's so far behind Cav or Jared Bernhardt to be out of contention. And now on to the final player, which is Michael Sowers, whose speed has been compared to one of the game's all-time greats, Mikey Powell. And rightfully so. When you watch Sowers play, his change of direction is just different than any other player out there. Sitting at a balanced 30 goals and 37 assists, Sowers is good for 4.8 points per game, which sits around the top 15 or so in the nation. Definitely lower than the other candidates. But Sowers does have a few things going for him, for why he might win the Tewaaraton come early June. First of all, Sowers straight up got robbed of winning this award in 2020, when he was averaging almost 10 points a game, significantly more than anyone is scoring this year. His former team, Princeton, was undefeated and looking to make a run in college lacrosse. With COVID, this legendary season was cut way too short. And anyways, you can make the argument that he deserves at least a little little bit of a boost from this. Second, Sowers is undoubtedly in the most system-oriented offense compared to the other candidates, meaning that he's more of a cog in the machine at Duke compared to other candidates who simply have the keys to their team's offense. If Sowers was playing for a worse team or just a different one, he would almost certainly have more points per game. And although this is true, I don't think this argument really helps his chances. Finally, just like Gray, I think if Sowers can lead Duke to a national championship and ball out along the way, there's good reason for him to win the award, especially because he's had such a decorated career, breaking pretty much every Princeton lacrosse record possible. So with all that being said, who do you think's gonna win the Tewaaraton? And what video should I make next? I'm Jake with Lax Weekly. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you next time.